So here I am with a new water pump for old Spence. You know, this has been quite a journey trying to find this overheat situation. It all started with the temperature almost going up to 120, and we solved that problem by fixing the oil cooler thermostat. You do have to be careful when handling this, even if you think you've drained it. There it is, okay. I'm looking down inside to see if there's a bunch of sludge and gunk in there, but it doesn't look too bad. Oh, look at that. There's our problem. Look at how whacked out that is and jammed up that thermostat is. Okay, that's always a wonderful thing when you can find the problem right off. Fortunately, I have one more that I've been saving because I know this one's good, but look at the difference. See where the pin is? So what happens when the oil starts to get hot, and if you look at the manual, it says this does not start to move and open up until 95 degrees. So when the engine's cold, it's putting a little bit of oil through the cooler, but it's not really opened up until the engine gets up to 95. So it gets up to 95 and keeps climbing as it did in old Spence. You know, maybe this is a problem right here. And of course, when you see something like that, you're almost assured that there's some sort of problem with that. You know, I mentioned earlier, don't put these in hot water to test them. Look at that. Can you see the gap right there? See, it's not seating. So this one is not fully closing. And it's opening at too early a temperature. What do you think this tells us? When I start doing tests on these and we have a failure rate of 2 out of 3, you've got all these old diesel engines running around with 200, 300, 400,000 miles with the original thermostat still in the housing. So what do I think? Seeing this, I think this is something that's going to have to be attended to for all owners of these old Mercedes turbo diesels from 1978 to 1985. Then suddenly we were faced with temperature peaking out at 95, and of course the obvious things: change the sensor, check the gauge. You know, we had replaced the thermostat, so we thought, well, maybe we should check that and make sure a new thermostat's fine. But the big problem was we were getting a huge differential between the heat in the upper hose and the heat in the lower hose. Take a look. This is a huge difference. And it should probably be, you know, around 10 degrees or less, and the bottom of the radiator is cold. So we even took the thermostat out and ran it, and the problem remains. So here we are, we're down to 2 things left that this could be. The top of the radiator gets really hot, the bottom of the radiator hardly gets warm. We have the temperature pegged right at 95, and that's probably because the oil cooler is starting to work at that temperature. So we either have a restriction of some type inside the block because the radiator's new. We thought we were not getting good flow through the radiator, so look at that, brand new radiator. So we're down to water pump or a restriction in the block. We're going to replace this water pump now, and I sure hope that's the problem. This is the old water pump we just removed from Spence, and this is the new German-made pump we are going to install. They say that you learn something new every day, but this is something else, man. I've never seen anything like this in the 30 years I've been working on these old diesels. This isn't the right water pump. If it is, it's poorly engineered. Look at the impeller difference. And look at the height of the impeller. This one is sticking a lot further into the housing, and here's the big one. The diameter of the new water pump is about 1/8 of an inch less than that one. So we've got a difference in gap right there. We've got a difference in diameter, a difference in the vanes, and the difference in depth. And when you look inside the housing on old Spence, you can see these impellers have been rubbing a little bit on the side of that housing. Okay, so what's the moral of this story? Don't buy your replacement parts from the local auto parts store. It's very obvious that this has been changed, but I can't imagine what the owner was dealing with in terms of temperature while he was driving it with this ridiculous water pump installed in his diesel engine. We're going to install this back in to the engine, even though there's a little bit of scoring on the housing. We want to see if there's a huge difference in that, but we're feeling very hopeful. Jerson and I earlier today said, you know, it's got to be something weird about the water pump, but we never thought it was going to be this weird. When you're replacing parts, double check fit before you start torquing things down. When I go to a local auto parts store out of desperation, I usually take the part with me that I'm trying to replace because I've been given the wrong part so many times. So if you are going to buy locally, then you want to be even more careful about checking the fit. And that would mean with a water pump, just set it in the water pump housing and see how it fits. Now this goes in real tight, but watch when I push it down, look at this. See, it's scraping. Now if you would have installed this in your diesel and tighten the bolts down, at least spin it by hand to make sure it's spinning freely. This is rubbing against the inside of the housing. So obviously whoever installed this just torqued it down, put the fan on it, and just think of the pain that's caused for me and Jerson. Please send us a donation to help with our pain.
Yeah, put your finger there.
Oh, don't we just love trying to get those fan bolts started? It's a good thing we got that special tool you designed 20 years ago.
No, but it's not just that. It's
Look
just,
at that. You got to use a screwdriver and a finger, and oh man. So we've almost got this new water pump installed. You know, Jerson and I have kind of ran out of hope. When we fixed the oil cooler thermostat, we had great hope. You know, then our hope faded. And after we installed the new radiator, we still had some hope. And after a good test run, the hope faded even more. So at this point, with this new water pump installed, who cares? We don't even know if this is going to fix it or not. Stay tuned for the next episode. We'll let you know.